Day one mini camp in the books. If you tuned in last night to the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue with the Mile High Viking and the Denver Dream Jay Weaver, then you would have heard them review day one. We're going to go over that again. Day two upcoming. We're also going to talk about J.K. Dobbins is a Denver Bronco. Where does that take the Denver Broncos? Are we contenders now? What holes do we have? We're also going to talk about George Paton's most underrated free agent signing, my opinion, and also which running back is on the roster bubble. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz.
Tune in, now it's time to sit. Orange and blue, we never quit. Broncos pride is lit legit. Every week we're bringing grit. Orange and blue, we bring the heat. Podcast grinding can't be beat. Every play, every stop we meet. Blitz so hard it's on repeat. My high dreams we elevate. Break it down, we narrate. From the field to the fan debate. Broncos Country, we dominate. We got the passion, we got the drive. Orange and blue keeps us alive. Every tackle, every stride. It's the Blitz where legends thrive.
What's good? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz, brought to you by the Orange and Blue Network in partnership with the MHRT Network. We are glad you are here. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to be here. Yesterday was day one of mandatory minicamp. Almost 100% attendance, except for Devon Vele, who Sean Payton said was excused, and he had no concerns about that. But we also had some big news again yesterday as well. J.K. Dobbins is a Denver Bronco. And today, one of the things that I'm going to discuss, we're going to get right into it after we get down to business, is does the signing of J.K. Dobbins, is the West ours? Are we contenders? We've known the Broncos back, but are we back? Where does J.K. Dobbins take us? And that's one of the things we're going to talk about. Also, what we're going to talk about is I want to go over one of George Paton's, I think, most underrated free agent signings. I'm be curious if you guys were to guess it. I want to know who you guys' most underrated free agent signing is. That's one thing we're going to talk about. And with the signing of J.K. Dobbins, which running back is on the roster bubble? Who's, based off minicamp and what we're seeing, who's on the bubble, who's on the way out, what are we going to look at, and what's Dobbins going to look like here? That's what we're going to get into on another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz. But before we do that, guys, go ahead over to MHRT, who we are in partnership with, and go ahead to their YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook, and follow them on all platforms. Hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss their shows either. And also, while you're on YouTube as well, go ahead over to our Orange and Blue Network YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and everywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Go ahead, follow us there. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and you're going to want to hit the notification bell because we have so many shows coming up. We have Monday through Friday every day. Yours truly hosting the Orange and Blue Blitz every morning, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. We had Monday, we had the Broncos Bros. Yesterday, we had the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue OG podcast. And tonight, we got Broncos Talk at 6 p.m. So this is why you're going to want to hit the notification bell because you're not going to want to miss this, guys. And we got Viva Los Broncos, our Spanish podcast, Friday at 6. And there's going to be some news. Hopefully you hit the notification bell because there's going to be news. Hopefully we're going to be filling in on that Thursday slot. So you guys are going to want to stick around for that because you guys are not going to want to miss that. And before we get into it, guys, this show is brought to you by Dubby. Yes, the Dub. Wonderful powder drink that you can put in your water anytime you want to go to the gym. Like I've said before, I've been on the carnivore diet for about a year and a half now, and no progress. That's on me for my lack of discipline. But when you want in the carnivore diet, you can't have sugar. So that if you want sugar, if you want something sweet, the most you can get is probably coffee with some type of cream. But then Dubby comes in and says, hey, we're going to go ahead and offer you something that was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash. Their formula contains vitamin, amino acids, and nootropics, including patented neurofactor. It contains no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. So if you're a guy like me who's on the carnivore diet, or if you like you're a guy like you have health issues, diabetes, or whatever the case may be, and you want something sugar-free instead of a Diet Coke or whatever the case may be, you can go ahead and order you some W, because it has the ingredients that are good for you, gives you that taste, but it also doesn't run up your glucose levels. And while you're there, go ahead and type in NRWOB10. That's NRWOB10. That stands for Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue 10 for 10% off, guys. And go ahead and send us in your review, send us your flavor, and tell us what you got, and tell them NRWOB sent you. All right, we have David Youngkin in the comments. He says, afternoon, Bronco Maniacs. We need our new players to take a good step forward in order for us to win games. Shai Vargas in the house. He says, what do you think about Denver J.K. Dobbins coming to the Denver Broncos? Shai, that is a perfect transition to exactly what we're talking about today. J.K. Dobbins on the Denver Broncos. As we know, J.K. Dobbins last year played 13 games for the rival Los Angeles Chargers. He didn't play the full season, but he had his career high totals in every category, playing less than 17 games. He was the bell cow running back in that heavy Harbaugh run system. And as we know, the Chargers look very different without J.K. Dobbins in there. He finished the season with over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 4.6 yards per carry, and no fumbles. He's a third down back that can pass protect as well. And he can get you those, he can get you 3 yards on 3rd and 2, or he can get you 4 on 1st and 10. I think this raises the floor of the running back room considerably. And I think the coaches are at ease. I think the players are at ease. And I think the fans are at ease. I think they're excited, for any contributor to come into this team. And like David said, we have to have our new players like J.K. Dobbins to come in order for us to win, to step up in order for us to win games and to stay healthy. And I think this is beneficial for a guy like J.K. To come in and play in a system that he's never played in before. He's never played in a system that wasn't a heavy run scheme. He's only played in Harbaugh systems, whether it's John or Jim Harbaugh, whether it's the Ravens or the Chargers. He's only played in heavy run scheme systems. This gives him a chance, like Evan Ingram, to diversify his portfolio, add weapons to his cachet. And so this gives him a chance to be more a passing back out of the backfield. I think he definitely takes some of Javonte Williams snaps. Javonte Williams, I think, was 5th or 6th in the NFL for running back receptions. He was 2nd on the team in receptions. So Sean Payton runs an offense that definitely depends on running backs being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. And he hasn't done much of that being in Harbaugh's system, but he can do that. So he's not going to be a giveaway player. He's a guy that can line up in the backfield, he can run out for a route, and he can pass block as well. So he's just a guy, he comes in, he adds stability to the room, because now, similar to the differences, for example, the difference between the running back room and the wide receiver room is the wide receiver room is young in regards to NFL experience, but they have a veteran in Cortland Sutton who's there to lead the room. The running back room had young guys in regards to NFL experience. You have Jaleel coming on his 3rd year, who would be the vet in his room. Estime, who's a 5th-round pick going in the 2nd year but has fumble issues. Tyler Burdett, who's injured. Blake Watson, who hasn't been there and who was on the practice squad most of the year. So you didn't have – and you have R.J. Harvey, who was a rookie coming in trying to learn a new system. So you didn't have experienced guys in there that has NFL experience in doing multiple different things. And you bring in a guy like J.K. Dobbins, who I will say is healthy. He finished the season healthy, and he's going into the offseason healthy. So I'd have to look at his history, but this may be one of the few times he's been healthy going into an offseason because he got injured in the middle of the year, and then he came in toward the end of the year and finished the season, and then now we just signed him. So he's been healthy this entire time. So there's a couple of guys that we're talking about that are new but are healthy. Talanoa Hufanga is new, but he's healthy. Evan Ingram is new, but he's healthy. J.K. Dobbins is new, but he's healthy. So now we're waiting for mainly Greenlaw to get healthy. And also Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton hasn't really been out there doing team activities, but he's out there. So unfortunately, our two inside linebackers have to get healthy. Dax says, I'm excited for the host, one of the hosts of Bronco Bros. I believe Broncos Bros Broncos Talks tonight. I'm excited for the Broncos running back room heading into the season. It was slim pickings in free agency, but Dobbins is a low risk, high reward type of signing. Great pairing with RJ. I agree. I think it's a really, really good pairing. I think that RJ has a chance to learn. I think the pressure is definitely taken off of him. Now he can just play. JK's here on a 1-year deal. Potentially, if he stays healthy and he fits on, I think here's the thing with JK. And I think it's the same with Evan Ingram. There's a potential that Evan Ingram, if he stays healthy and performs well, because prior to the last season where he only played 9 games, Evan Ingram had played, 16 games, or 17, 16, 15. He'd been healthy most of his career until last season. There's a potential that if Evan Ingram stays healthy, he can stay more than 2 years, even into his 30s. Same thing with JK. He's here on a 1-year prove-it deal. He's not going to be the bell cow back. He'll split carries, so he'll be a little bit more fresh. If he fits the system well, he's only 26. He's young. So there's a potential for a future running back room of JK and RJ. It may not just be RJ and whoever else is on the roster, RJ and, whatever the case may be. It could be Dobbins and RJ for the future if Dobbins stays healthy, performs well, and does what we need him to do. If he did, don't count the games, but if he just puts up those numbers here that he did last year, 900 rushing yards, over 1,000 yards from scrimmage, 9 touchdowns, no fumbles, the Broncos are winning 11-plus games because we have a run game and a tight end. That's where I don't understand the sophomore slump comes from because, 1, you have Sean Payton. Sean Payton's not going to allow a sophomore slump. 2, they're like, oh, the league will have figured Bo out. Well, number 1, Bo doesn't even know Bo. 2, you saw Bo with young receivers, no run game, and no tight end, and you think you know Sean Payton in the offense? No. And I think we have a potential for a great future with RJ and JK. But the question with the JK Dobbins signing is, what does that mean for everyone else behind those two? And I think right now, the battle is not between Estime and Jaleel. I think the battle is between Estime and Bidet. I think there's a battle for the practice squad running back. I think the Broncos are going to carry 4 running backs. I think it's going to be Dobbins, Harvey, Jaleel, and Michael Burton. I think Jaleel has a special skill set. Until Dobbins came in, he was the most trusted running back. When he gets going, like against Cincinnati, when he gets going, he can run that rock. He can run the ball. He can catch. He scored, passing touchdowns. So I think those are the 3 running backs. I think it's going to be Dobbins because now with the signing of J.K. Dobbins, I think it does the opposite of what Jaleel and Estime with the Dobbins signing. I think with the Dobbins signing, it boosts Jaleel and drops Estime. Why do I say I think it boosts Jaleel? Well, because the worry about Jaleel was he's a specific stature and has a specific skill set that's used specifically in certain circumstances. He couldn't be used to pass protect, and he'd be a giveaway on 3rd downs. So you can't use him. Estime could, possibly, but he'd be a giveaway, and he has fumble issues. RJ Harvey probably could do both, but he's a rookie. J.K. Dobbins can do it all. So now what that does is, and he's a bigger back, so what that does is that kind of replaces Estime's size. But because Jaleel is trusted and has a specific skill set, now Jaleel is free for packages for that specific skill set. because Sean Payton likes it. It would be like this. Let's say this is the running back room. It would be Dobbins is Ingram, Harvey's Kamara, McLaughlin is Sproles. So with you have your Ingram, your Kamara, and you have your Sproles. Sean Payton likes the Sproles running back. McLaughlin fits that. So because he works hard and he's carved out a spot for him that Sean Payton likes, he's more secure than someone we're estimating where we're trying to figure out what his spot is. Because over the last few years, McLaughlin has produced, and maybe not produced as much as you want him to, but he has produced. Estime has been the opposite. He's put the ball on the ground, and you can't find out what his job is. That puts him the odd man out. So if you're running with Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin, that is Ingram, Kamara, Sproles. That's what that three is. And then you have Michael Burton, who's going to be the fullback. You're going to have a fullback. Especially with Dobbins, especially with Sean Payton. I love it. You're gonna have a fullback. You might have a 12 personnel, one tight end, two back with the fullback and a running back. And so you're going to carry a fullback. So you're going to carry four. And so the question is, who is the practice squad running back? And so we know Baday's been on the practice squad for the last couple of years. We know he can run. We know he can catch. And according to Sean Payton, he's a pretty decent pass blocker. Let's say you decide to move on from Jalil after this year, and Tyler Bidet doesn't get poached. Does Tyler Bidet then slip into that running back 3 Darren Sproles role? Something to think about. So do you carry 2 running backs in the practice squad? Will Estime get poached? I mean, if you're putting the ball on the ground and Sean Payton can't trust you, there's no point in you wasting a roster spot. And then here's the other question. Can you sneak Estime on the roster if he can play special teams? So maybe you carry Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin, Burton as your running backs, Estime special teams, and Bidet is your practice squad running back. And so now your depth grows. So now you have your specific skill set. Guys, tell me I'm wrong if that Ingram, Kamara, Sproles role isn't dead on for these 3. Dead on for these 3. So now you have the 3 types of running backs. Zach Stevens just tweeted that they expect J.K. Dobbins to be at the Broncos practice today. So now you have these 3 running backs that directly reflect Sean Payton's previous running backs. So now you got the running backs you need. And so then Evan Ingram turns into Jimmy Graham. Cortland Sutton. Is Cortland Sutton would it be Marcus Colston or Devery Henderson? And then you got, I think Devon Bailey might turn into that Michael Thomas role. It's just very interesting where things are playing out and where the addition of J.K. Dobbins lifts the floor of this entire running back and changes this team completely. Which brings me to the next question. So we talked about, they talked about on Nothing Rhymes last night about mandatory day 1 mandatory camp review. So I'm not going to beat that horse. So what we're going to talk about is we're talking about the signing of J.K. Dobbins, who's on the bubble, which I think it's Estime, but now leads into the third question is, does this make the Broncos contenders? Not just Super Bowl contenders. Now, I want to preface this with the West, because now we can talk. It all is contingent on health. And Sean Payton saying, I trust Bo Lowry. I have 2 years of evidence to back it up. I'm ready. And people are saying the Broncos really won free agency. And they're saying, hey, if these group of free agents they brought in are healthy, yes, I'm going to talk about that. But I want to preface this with something that I noticed with Sean Payton. I'm sorry. Mandatory day 1 review. Here's what Sean Payton said a couple years ago when he came in and he wanted a secondary, and he wanted to build his secondary. The word that he used for a secondary was smart. He said he wanted a smart secondary. And if you listen about every single player on the secondary, he uses the word smart to describe each and every one of them. I was thinking about this last night, and I thought it was very, very interesting. I'm going to hold that thought because that's going to tell me we're going to go into the later on to the George Payton's most underrated free agent signing. We're going to hold that thought. Probably gave it away. But the West, they're talking about the Broncos really won free agency. They're saying if this team turns out to be healthy, they are dangerous contenders. Dangerous contenders. And so there was a graphic pulled up about the free agent acquisitions, who we lost and then who we gained. So we lost Cody Barton, Riley Dixon, Tremont Smith, Javonte Williams. We gained Evan Ingram, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Jahdae Barron, RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins. Every hole that we had, inside linebacker, safety, tight end, running back, we filled. And so now, let's say we're going into the AFC West. Chiefs are good and old. Broncos have their number. I believe that. Chiefs are good and old. Broncos have their number. If not for a field goal, we would have swept the Chiefs last year. Raiders. They got a young receiver that's good. Runs a 4.3. Real good. Him and Geno Smith have a connection with Jacoby Myers, who has a low drop rate. A good tight end. The Raiders are going to have a good offense. Their defense is in question. They're a little bit like the Bengals in a way. But I think our defense can be better than our offense, and I think our offense is much better than our defense. So I think we sweep the Raiders again. I want to talk about the Chargers because with this new roster, that's the team that we need to focus on. I think the Chargers and the Broncos are equal and chomping at the bit for the Chiefs. As much as the Broncos think we can win the West, so do the Chargers. And so last year we got swept by the Chargers. God, I hate saying that. We lost by one possession, both games. One game, we tried to come behind, kicking onside, we lost by one possession. The second game, we started off hot, but we couldn't maintain it. No run game. Lost by one possession. They had a good defense. We had a good defense. They didn't add much to their defense. We added a lot to their defense. So when this match up against the Chargers, it's going to come down to the trenches. They upgraded their offensive line. They got Mekhi Becton. And they put him at guard. So I think he's going to be next to Alt. Yes, I think he's going to be next to Joe Alt. And they got Najee Harris and Amarian Hampton. So they're going to be splitting carries. They got Trey Harris as well. And so we beefed up our defense. So the question is, when we go in there, can our defense slow down their offense? And here's what I said earlier. Bo doesn't even know Bo. Sean Payton doesn't know Bo. We don't know Bo because Bo's never had a run game in the NFL, and he's never had a tight end in the NFL. We've never seen it. So if we've never seen it, the other teams have never seen it. So they're all watching film on play calls with no run game and no tight end. We play them week 3. That's a win. I think the Broncos start 3-0. That is a win. I think the Chargers are not going to have any film on this new offense. Well, they'll have the first 2 weeks. And it's a divisional game. I don't think Sean Payton's going to use everything the first 2 weeks against the Titans and the Colts. I don't think so. And so later on, we'll meet them again, and that's going to be a drag-out knuckle drag. I think. But that's going to be later on the year. If healthy, I think this year we split with the Chargers. I think we go 5-1 in the division. I think we sweep the Chiefs. We sweep the Raiders. And I think we split with the Chargers. I think we have the Chiefs number. I don't think the Raiders are there yet. And I think we win the first game just because we want revenge against the Chargers. And so let's say we're 5-1 in the division. that automatically gives us one of the 4 seeds. Home field advantage in the playoffs. And let's say we're healthy. Defense is rocking and rolling. We've got a run game. So we're number 1 division. Let's say, so who we play, I'm not saying we're number 1 in the AFC, but let's say we get a home field advantage. We're in the top 4 seeding. Who we get? Let's see. How far can we? Let's say we get the. Let's say it plans out. We finish. Let's say we finish 12-5. 12-5. 5-1 in the division. And let's say round 1 of the playoffs. Let's say Jacksonville stepped up in the AFC South, was second to the Texans. And we play them round 1. Let's give us an easy round 1. We played, no, they'll be the 7th seed, so they'll probably play the number 2 seed. But 12-5, who knows where we land? 3-2, 3-4, 5. I think this year, if healthy, you'd have to, in order to get to the AFC Championship, you'd have to go through. I think a round 1 matchup would actually be the Steelers. I think we'd play Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers round 1. I think that'd be a good matchup. But you'd have to go through the Bills and the Ravens. So I think a good playoff picture would be Steelers round 1, Texans round 2. And then if AFC Championship, it'd either be we either play the Bills or the Ravens. Do we think our offense and our defense, because they drafted Malachi Starks, they drafted Mike Williams, and they're talking about maybe they're in potential talking about signing Jair Alexander. Is our defense good enough to stop their offense this year? Is our offense good enough to stop their defense? Same thing with Buffalo. Are we ready for that next step? I think we can make it. Well, you read it. You read it out loud in your head, and everybody else on screen can read it, Johnny. I think we have the potential to make it to the AFC Championship. I think we can beat the Chargers in the playoffs, the Chiefs in the playoffs, the Bengals in the playoffs, the Dolphins in the playoffs, the Colts in the playoffs, the Texans in the playoffs. I think we can beat all of those teams in the playoffs. The only question is, can we beat the Bills or the Ravens? Because you have both of these guys. For example, and I'm going to bring it to my quarterback. Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl. He's been to the AFC Championship. They don't have a defense. Would they be lucky if they made it to the playoffs again? If they do make it to the playoffs, they're not going to make it because they have no defense. 2, the Dolphins. We don't know about the Dolphins. The Colts. I think Daniel Jones is going to be a better quarterback for the Colts than Anthony Richardson. They have Tyler Warren, and they have a good defense, and they have Jonathan Taylor coming off year 2, recovered from that injury. I think they're going to be decent. I think more than likely the Colts win second in the AFC South, and I think the Colts has the potential to get in that 7th seed over the Bengals because they have a defense. And they also have a quarterback in Daniel Jones who's been to the playoffs. And so I don't think the Bengals are a threat to the Broncos in the playoffs. I don't think the Dolphins are a threat. I don't think the Colts are a threat. We play the Texans this year. So the only 2 other teams to stop the Broncos from going to the AFC Championship would be the Texans, the Steelers, and the Chargers. D-Rock, what's up? The Texans, the Steelers, and the Chargers are the 3 teams I think we would play the conference championship that would stop us from going to the AFC Championship. We play the Texans midseason, so we get to have a look. They have Christian Kirk, Nico Collins, and I think Mechie's going to start for Tank Dell. And they've got some good wide receiver depth. They just signed Nick Chubb. Their defense is good. They're a threat. I think the Texans could be in the AFC Championship. I think, depending on their defense, I think they could be in the Super Bowl. I'm not joking. They've won a playoff game every year the last 2 years since CJ Stroud. So they can win in the playoffs. They just get stuck in the second round. That's why I think they could possibly be a threat. Chargers Justin Herbert isn't looked at as one of these quarterbacks in the playoffs because he's one and done each year. So Justin Herbert's not expected to win a playoff game. But if they do win a playoff game, because we play them and it's a tough, I think they're a threat to us in the conference championship. So Texans, Chargers, and the Steelers. The Steelers have a good defense. They have a good defense every year. I don't know why they traded away George Pickens. I really don't. DK Metcalf is bigger than George Pickens, but I think you get the same productivity from both receivers. Cowboys are just better now. I don't know why they did that. If I were them, I would have kept both of them and then brought in Aaron Rodgers, but now they're scrambling for a tight end, a second playmaker, in addition to a big body receiver. I think because that's Arthur Smith's, or it was whoever the offensive coordinator, not Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator for the Steelers. That's the type of offense they run. But, with Aaron Rodgers, I think Russell Wilson had a better year than Aaron Rodgers did last year, but Aaron Rodgers can throw over the middle. So I think he'll open up that offense a little bit more, and they have a good defense. So they may not be one and done this year. They may actually go to round 2 legitimately. So for the conference championship, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Chargers are the 3 teams I think. And if we go 5-1 in the division, the Texans would be a division winner, so we would not play them in the first round. If we win, the Chargers won't be there. And the Steelers would have to fight against the Ravens for the AFC North AFC North division title, which I think they can. So we would play either the number 2 seed would play the 7 seed, but if we are in the top 4, we would play whoever came in second place in our division. So if we're going through the whole, we'd either play the Chargers the first round. We'd play the Colts the first round. We play, if the Dolphins come in first in AFC East, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets, I think the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots are all going to be competing for second. So we play one of those 3 teams in the first round. And then the Steelers, whoever came in second in AFC North. So the Steelers, the Colts, the Chargers, and the people in the AFC East behind the Bills are the teams we could potentially play in the first round. And that's if we win the division. That's home field advantage. Even if we play the Steelers round 1, which is the best of that group of the teams that come in second, that's home field advantage. So that home field advantage round 1 against one of those second place teams, one of the second place teams in their division, that could be a round 1 win. And then we go to round 2, and that's where we get Texans and the rest of the group. That's where, I think if the Chargers come in second, the Chiefs would be the wild card. Or the Chiefs come in second, we play them round 1, and the Chargers are the wild card. So I think with the addition of J.K. Dobbins and the addition of a healthy run game, it takes it so much further than we could possibly go. So I think we can win the West, and I think we can go as far as the conference championship. And just that matchup. Because then, hey, if we get to the conference championship, what if we run into the Bills and the Ravens in round 2? What if we run into them? But I think we can go round conference championship to AFC championship. Depends on health, depends on who we play. If it's in the conference championship, if it's anyone except for the Bills and the Ravens, we can go to the AFC championship. But let's say we are fully healthy. And let's say we get to the AFC championship and it's the Bills and the Ravens. What are we missing on the offense or defense side of the ball to bring us to beat them? Health. I think it's health, and I think it's the young receiving core. Because when I'm thinking about the Bills and the Ravens, what's stopping us from being the AFC championship? If Vele, and I really, from what I'm hearing, I really think Vele is the Michael Thomas. From how they're moving around and how he runs his routes, I think he might turn into that Michael Thomas role. So if Vele can step up in year 2 as that Michael Thomas role, and Mims has another, all we needed is the young receiver. I think to answer your question, Shy, how far can the Broncos go? As far as our health and our young receiving core will take us. As far as our health and young receiving core can take us. If we're healthy, we can go anywhere. If our young receiving core is stepped up and really a threat, and we're healthy, we can beat anybody. We can seriously beat anybody. All right, guys, we are going to, first off, wait a minute, guys. I need you guys to go ahead and smash the like button. Smash the like button. Slash the like button. But, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back because we are going to discuss George Paton's underrated free agent signing, in my opinion. You guys may agree, you guys may disagree, you guys may have different ideas, but you're going to be wrong. All right, guys, we are back. As you guys see, smash the like button, hit the notification bell because we have a bunch of shows coming up tonight. We have Broncos Talk at 6 p.m. So you guys are going to want to hit the notification bell and smash that likes up button. Shai says, do you think Kansas City took a step forward or backwards? I think Kansas City has quite similar to Houston. They have questions on their offensive line. They drafted Josh Simmons, and I think they had to make some moves around. I think their offensive line will be better, but it's young. They have questions. The receiver core is coming back healthy. They still pretty much maintain the same amount of guys. They re-signed Nick Bolton, brought back Chris Jones. They have Trent McDuffie. So their defense is still going to be good. They got George Karlaftis and Chris Jones. So I think if the Chiefs aren't dethroned this year, they'll come in second. So I think the Chiefs are still a threat. They're still a threat. All right, guys, let us discuss for the last segment of the day George Paton's most underrated free agent signing. And this goes back to what I said earlier, and I said I was going to bring this back up again. Was Sean Payton, was it not last year or 2 years ago when he said 2 years ago when he let Justin Simmons go, he said he wanted a secondary. He was looking for a type of secondary. And the word that he described his secondary was he wanted his secondary to be smart. That was the word he used, smart. Now, we don't have to talk about Pat Surtain. Defensive Player of the Year, he has to be smart. But if you listen to Sean Payton's interview about every single other person that's supposed to be starting in the secondary, there's one word he uses about every single one of them. And this just goes into the vision that Sean Payton has for his team and the execution that occurs by George Payton. So, Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year, drafted by George Payton, best cornerback in the league, obviously smart. Then you go to the boundary. You got Riley Moss. And Sean Payton said in the interview yesterday that Riley Moss is also smart. And if you watch film of Riley Moss and how he reacts to plays, he's always right there. He was not as good as he was before the injury, but I think he's going to come back healthy. But Sean Payton described him as smart. You go to Talanoa Hufanga. He said he's a great communicator. He's smart. Everyone else said Talanoa Hufanga is smart. So not only is Sean Payton saying it, but other people are saying it. And you go to Jahdae Barron. Because he plays multiple positions, automatically off the board. Sean Payton has said it multiple times. Everybody else who's been asked about it said it multiple times. Brandon Jones said it yesterday. Off rep, smart. Then Brandon Jones. Sean Payton was asked about Brandon Jones yesterday. And as I said before on this show and on other shows, because of the position that Brandon Jones played and how he played, I thought Brandon Jones was a strong safety who was a ball hawk. Turns out he's a free safety who's a good run stopper. And so just by his versatility, he's automatically smart. And Sean Payton mentioned that yesterday about him smart. So he's built this secondary of smart. And the second word that he said he wants them to be smart. But he also said the fruit that he wants to be produced from smart secondary is good communication. It's good communication. And so he's building this. And so George Payton is signing this secondary, building the secondary of smart communicative DBs. And so mix that with Vance Joseph's scheme of attacking man coverage, different guys playing over here, you moving over here, confusing the offense, communication. This can be, and there's a reason. There's a reason why we're calling this cell block D. Prepare to get locked down. Smart. We got some smart correction officers. And I told Johnny I want to create a commercial for cell block D. It's a huge, complicated commercial that I don't think is going to happen. But it'd be really cool, like a little edit of cell block D. And what it would is you have I'll describe it for you. It was like a mini intro to a movie. Maybe I could do it. I don't know how to do it. You have to use AI and all types of stuff. But basically what it would be is the mini video would be like a 30-second video. And it'd be like this picture you see of the outer prison. This is going to be the name of our defense, by the way. #cellblockD. But you'd have the prison, the outer prison, and coming in, you see lights flashing, siren flashing. You hear the siren, and all of a sudden you're coming into a dark prison, and all of a sudden you're going into the officers' lounge, and all of a sudden you see, you hear over the announcement, there's been what's it called? Not a riot. Yeah, there's a riot. The prisoners have left their cells. Prepare for lockdown. And then in the officer's room, you see an officer with Pat Surtain's face, and he's handing out riot gear or whatever. And then each person that runs out, it's Riley Moss, Talanoa Hufanga, Jahdae Barron, Brandon Jones, and these are correctional officers. And then you see them, and then what you see them arresting the inmates will be who do we play this year? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Who else do we play? Lab McConkey, and those would be inmates, but you're locking them down. And so the secondary with that cell block D. But smart, communicative guys, and they have the potential to be an elite secondary. And the reason why I think they're going to be an elite secondary is because of this underrated signing. And D-Rock comes in and says, it's Dondrea Tillman. Shoe program, 23-hour lockdown. Yes, sir. Solitary confinement. Lockdown, nothing in, nothing out. And then the warden will be Vance Joseph. And so I guess you'd have Vance Joseph announcing the lockdown, and then Pat Surtain getting up to lead his officers up to go lock down the receivers. But I'm trying to get Johnny to make that, and we're trying to figure that out, whatever case may be. But if any of you guys know how to make that, so #cellblockD. But D-Rock says Dondrea Tillman is George Payton's best under-the-radar signing. I get it. UFO signing, he was great. Came up 5 sacks, but I'm going to have to disagree with you, bud. And George Payton's most underrated signing to me is Brandon Jones. Now, I've heard some people say Jonathan Franklin Myers. D-Rock says Dondrea Tillman. But I'm going to say it's Brandon Jones. And I just preface that with the smart secondary. His cap hit is what? His cap hit is super low. I think he's – now, what I'm thinking is probably wrong, the number I have in my head. I'm thinking it's like $2 million a year. But his cap hit is super low. And his contract, he's in a contract year. He's going to be re-signed and extended. He came from, I think he was, wasn't he a backup in Miami? And he comes to Miami, to Denver, he's a starter. And then not only is he a starter, he doesn't play at all in the offseason and turns out to be a top 5 free safety in the NFL. and wasn't even playing his position and was top 5 last year. What's his contract? I'm trying to figure out what is his contract. Wait, never mind. Signed a 3-year, $20 million contract with the Denver Broncos. $11 million guaranteed, 5.5 signing bonus. He has a base salary of $1.245 plus a $255,000 roster bonus, totaling a cap hit of $3.3 million. Net this year, his cap hit increases to 5.7. A salary increase to 5.7 with a cap hit of $8 million. And then 2026, the cap hits 8.5. For a top 5 safety? Dude, PS2 will have so many wide receivers bending over and coughing. Yes. Inspection. But yeah, that's why I think Brandon Jones is on an extremely correct me if I'm wrong, chat. I'm pretty sure Brandon Jones was a backup in Miami, but because we were constrained by salary cap, George Payton had to recruit and choose wisely. And then Brandon Jones ended up being a top 5 player in his position and played out of position. So he's a potential to be number 1 free safety in the NFL in his position this year. And I think that just makes him the number one free agent signing. That I just believe he's the number 1 free agent signing. All right, guys, we are closing it out. Day 2 of mandatory minicamp is today. And I'm going to throw the schedule up there again because tonight, guys, you're going to want to tune in at 6 p.m. Mountain Time to hear Broncos talk. You're going to want to hear them discuss day 2 of mandatory minicamp, so you're not going to want to be there. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. And if you are here from Orange and Blue Network, go ahead over to MHRT, subscribe to their channel on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch. And if you're from MHRT, go over to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and everywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, and follow us there as well. Johnny says, D-Rock, you are a genius. Johnny, while you're calling D-Rock a genius, you need to be getting ready on this video clip because this clip of Cell Block D needs to be ready to go for when this defense gets hot. You heard it here at Orange and Blue Network first. The nickname was Cell Block D, and we're going to have a video to match with it. Yeah, you guys are glazing each other in the comments. Let's get out of here, guys. I appreciate all of you guys. I'm going to give you guys a mile high salute. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. We love you all. We will see you tonight for Broncos Talk and tomorrow again in the morning at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for another episode of Orange and Blue Blitz to review day 2 and go over what we're going to go over. That will be announced for you guys tomorrow when it's posted. We love you all. Mile high salute. Be good. Be safe.